5 people vanished without a trace, families left waiting, questions left unanswered. Decades later, rumors swirl, theories collide, and the chilling mystery remains. Where are they now? First case, The Silent Exit, The Disappearance of Brianna Maitland, 2004, Vermont. Brianna Maitland was a 17-year-old who wanted more than the quiet farm where she grew up. On October 8, 1986, her parents, Bruce and Kelly, welcomed her into their lives in rural Vermont, near the U.S.-Canadian border. She was the youngest child with an older brother. They lived off the grid to some degree. The home was powered by solar, heated by a wood stove. Brianna trained in jiu-jitsu. She liked hunting, being outdoors, exploring. Her life was hard sometimes, but she had plans. By early 2004, Brianna had dropped out of traditional high school. She was working toward her GED, taking classes to finish her high school equivalency. She left home, moving between friends' homes. She sometimes stayed with a friend, Jillian, in Sheldon. She enrolled in the GED program. She also worked. She had 2 jobs, one at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery, where she was a dishwasher, and another in St. Albans. A second job she planned to return to. She was independent, restless for change, hoping for more than what life around her seemed to offer. Full-day timeline, March 19, 2004. That Friday began like many days for Brianna. In the morning, she went with her mother to take her final GED test. She passed it that day. It was a milestone. After the test, she and Kelly had a celebratory lunch together. They talked about what she might do next. College classes, part-time work. Brianna seemed hopeful. They ran errands, shopped in St. Albans. They stopped in stores, bought things. At one store, inside, something outside caught Brianna's attention. Kelly later said her daughter looked startled. She went outside the store alone for a moment. When her mother followed, she saw Brianna in the parking lot. Her daughter seemed upset, rattled. Kelly asked little. Brianna offered no clear explanation. Then they kept going. Later that afternoon, between roughly 3:30 and 4 p.m., Kelly dropped Brianna at the home she stayed in near Sheldon, where Jillian lived. Jillian was away for the weekend. Brianna left a note that said she would be back after her shift at the Black Lantern Inn. She also left the phone number of the inn. She drove off in a pale green, 1985 Oldsmobile Delta 88. The car registered in her mother's name to Montgomery, about a 20-mile drive. Her work shift that night was expected to end at about 11:20 p.m. Co-workers said the shift at the inn was ordinary. No visitors, no phone calls to or from Brianna, no strange comments. She turned in when the inn closed. She declined invitations to stay longer with co-workers. She said she needed rest because of her second job the next morning. At 11:20 p.m., she clocked out. She left by herself in the Oldsmobile. That is the last time anyone who knew her saw Brianna alive. Discovery of the car at the Dutchburn house. On the afternoon of March 20th, 2004, at about 1:15 p.m., a Vermont state trooper was dispatched after a report of an abandoned car. The car was backed into the side of an old farmhouse known locally as the Dutchburn house, an abandoned building. The vehicle had collided with the side of the house. The rear bumper was wedged against the foundation. A piece of plywood covering a window fell onto the trunk. The tires in back were raised slightly. Front tires on ground, rear elevated. The car was disabled. It was unlocked. The keys were missing. Inside were Brianna's personal effects. 2 uncashed paychecks from the Black Lantern Inn on the front seat. Migraine medicine, contact lenses, glasses were all inside. Other items left behind, outside or near, included loose change, a water bottle, an unused cigarette. The car's registration linked to Kelly Maitland. The state police later confirmed with Brianna's parents that she had been driving that night. The next few days passed without strong leads. Brianna's mother did not immediately know the car had been found. Her roommate Jillian was out for the weekend. The note Brianna left was seen only when Jillian returned. Her parents did not hear from her, assumed she might be with friends or family. On March 23rd, Kelly reported Brianna missing to Vermont State Police. On March 25th, the parents were shown a photograph of the pale green Oldsmobile backed into the Dutchburn building. They identified it as Brianna's. Search teams were formed. Dogs combed the property around the old house. Investigators looked for footprints, tracks, anything that could give a sign. A K-9 search about a week later found an item of interest on the ground near the car. It was submitted for DNA testing and entered into CODIS. It matched no one of the 11 people of interest at that time. Rumors swirled of drug dealers in the area. Brianna associated with a man named James as a boyfriend. She was acquainted with individuals involved in drug trade, including Nathaniel Charles Jackson and Ramon Ryans. Anonymous tips claimed she was being held. One tip claimed she was murdered. The state agency investigated, raided a farmhouse, found drug paraphernalia. No proof Brianna was there. Those early tips later proved dead ends. In 2022, nearly 18 years after she vanished, authorities revealed they had a match to the DNA sample recovered from the item found near her car. That DNA belonged to one of the people previously tested in the investigation, the original pool of 11. That person cooperated and spoke to investigators, though officials have not named who it is. There is still no suspect charged, no arrest. The match does not yet prove involvement. It only confirms that person's DNA was on the item. Active investigation remains ongoing. Also in 2022, a forensic genealogy lab, Othram, helped generate leads. The Vermont State Police used advanced genome sequencing on deteriorated DNA evidence. They located candidate donors, interviewed them, collected samples, and compared to the sample in the lab. Only at that stage did the match become known. Thank you for your incredible support. This channel thrives because of viewers like you. Join our YouTube membership today to unlock exclusive perks, enjoy premium content, and help us keep creating the stories you love. Second case, vanished after last call, the Lauren Spierer mystery, 2011, Indiana. Lauren Elizabeth Spierer turned 20 in January 2011. She was from Scarsdale, New York. She came to Indiana University in Bloomington to study textile merchandising. She was lively, had friends from summer camps, active in the Jewish community, and involved in campus life. She often spent evenings socializing, going out with friends. Friends say she cared deeply about those close to her. On June 3, 2011, Lauren spent time with friends, had drinks, laughter, a regular Friday night near campus. Around 12:30 a.m., she left her apartment with a friend, David Rohn. They went to Jay Rosenbaum's apartment, where she met Corey Rossman. The group moved to Kilroy's sports bar, where Lauren drank and socialized. Video surveillance shows her entering the bar at 1:46 a.m. Inside, patrons say she was visibly inebriated. She removed her shoes when she stepped onto the sand-covered patio. She left them behind at the bar. At 2:27 a.m., she exits with Rossman. She then walks with him toward her apartment's complex, Smallwood Plaza. At about 2:30 a.m., a passerby, Zach Oakes, sees her entering Smallwood Plaza. He asks if she is okay. She says she is. Her keys and purse remain with her, but her phone stays behind at the bar. At 2:48 a.m., Lauren and Rossman leave the apartments via an alley between College Avenue and Morton Street. Surveillance cameras catch her exiting that alley at 2:51 a.m., walking toward an empty lot. Along this route, her keys and purse are found. After that, Rossman takes Lauren to his townhouse, 2 doors down from Jay Rosenbaum's, roughly around 3 a.m. At Rossman's place, his roommate Michael Beth witnessed Rossman stumbling, unsteady, even vomiting on the carpet. Beth insists he guided Rossman upstairs for rest, then tried to persuade Lauren to stay over for safety. Lauren said she wanted to go home. By about 3:30 a.m., she went to Rosenbaum's apartment. Rosenbaum saw a bruise under her eye. She said she did not know how it got there. Phone calls were made from Rosenbaum's apartment shortly before she left. The last confirmed sighting of Lauren is at 4:30 a.m. at the intersection of 11th Street and College Avenue, heading south on College. She is barefoot, wearing black leggings and a white shirt. She walks away. After that, nothing. No confirmed movements, no messages, no video. That is when the trail ends. Bloomington and Indiana University police launched searches. They used witness statements, video footage, phone records. Over time, more than 3,000 tips came in. A reward was offered. Ground searches in neighborhoods, woods, urban areas. Authorities searched a landfill south of Bloomington, Sycamore Ridge, because trash from the city goes there. They hoped clues might have been discarded. The FBI joined at times. A property in Martinsville, about 20 miles north, belonging to a man named Justin Wagers, was investigated. Cadaver dogs alerted at a barn. Soil was dug and sifted. Nothing conclusive found. Lauren's friends and family retained private investigators. They scrutinized phone records, timestamps. They reviewed email, credit card, social media activity. Lauren had a rare heart condition, long QT syndrome, which made some medical risks higher. The family suspected there might have been someone who took advantage of her state. Multiple people who were close to Lauren that night gave statements. Rossman, Rosenbaum, Beth, others. Their memories sometimes differed. Exactly where Lauren was at certain times, how she traveled from one place to another, whether someone observed her exiting the townhouse, whether Rossman saw her off the doorstep. Those details shift per retelling. One issue. Who made the two phone calls from Rosenbaum's phone around 4 a.m.? One was to David Rohn, who had last seen Lauren around midnight. The other to a friend hosting a basketball dinner earlier. Neither friend answered. Investigators felt those calls might matter, but they yielded nothing. Lauren's phone being left at Kilroy's, her shoes left behind, her state of intoxication, all show she was vulnerable. But no physical evidence showed foul harm. No body, no clear injuries confirmed. The bruise under her eye is unexplained. It might have come from a slip, a fall, or a bump. Investigators never confirmed its cause. No body, no suspect, no admission. Despite a large reward of $250,000, many tips and years of investigation, no body has ever been found. No person has been charged in connection. The four men who were with Lauren that night have not been accused formally. Some took private lie detector tests. Others cooperated with investigators. Lawsuits were filed by her parents against core friends for negligence, for allegedly supplying alcohol while she was visibly under the influence and not helping her get home safely. Courts dismissed parts of those suits, citing lack of proof and too many unanswered variables. Authorities have not declared the case closed. The assumption from many is that Lauren is no longer alive. Her family holds out hope. Third case, in broad daylight, the Jason Jolkowski case, 2001, Nebraska. Jason Jolkowski was 19. He lived at home with his parents and younger brother in Omaha, Nebraska. He had dreams, some quiet, some big. He wanted to work in radio. He studied broadcast journalism at Iowa Western Community College and held a part-time job at Fazoli's, a local Italian chain. He spoke softly and had a speech-related learning disability that made it harder to process instructions under stress. Wednesday, June 13th, 2001, began like any other summer day in Omaha. The skies were clear. The Jolkowski household stirred to life. Jason's car was in the shop, so his mother had driven him to work earlier that week. But that day, he had arranged something different. He got a call from his manager asking if he could come in early for his afternoon shift. Jason said yes. Because he couldn't drive, he coordinated with a coworker to pick him up near Benson High School, his old high school, just a few blocks from his house. It was a simple plan. Jason would walk the 8 blocks from his front door to the school, where his ride would meet him. It was just after 10 o'clock in the morning when he made the arrangement. Around 10:45 a.m., a neighbor saw Jason helping his younger brother bring the garbage bins back from the curb to the house. This is the last time anyone definitively saw him. What happened in the next 20 minutes has remained a mystery for over 2 decades. By 11:15 a.m., Jason's ride had arrived at Benson High. The coworker waited. No sign of Jason. He called the house. No one answered. Jason had never been late before. He didn't cancel plans without notice. Something was wrong. His parents, Kelly and Jim, immediately sensed something wasn't right. Jason wasn't the type to wander. He didn't drink. He wasn't reckless. He was responsible. Within hours, a missing persons report was filed, but investigators didn't find much to work with. Jason had left his house on foot. There were no known witnesses beyond the neighbor. No one remembered seeing him on the walk to the school. He never made it to his meeting point. He didn't use his phone. His bank account remained untouched. His paychecks went unclaimed. The route between his home and the high school spanned less than a mile, through a quiet, safe neighborhood filled with single-family homes and sidewalks. A route he knew, a place he felt safe. And yet, somewhere along that short, familiar path, he was gone. Authorities canvassed the neighborhood. They asked neighbors if they'd seen anything strange. Nothing. They checked school security cameras. No footage of Jason arriving. They searched nearby alleyways, wooded areas, construction sites. No shoes, no backpack, no personal items, nothing left behind. Jason had vanished, cleanly, quietly, in broad daylight. His parents stood helpless in the wake of silence. They knocked on doors, hung flyers, reached out to media. The story ran locally, then nationally. But attention faded. Tips came in, then dried up, and Jason was still gone. The Jolkowski family was stunned by how little support there was for families of missing adults. Because Jason was over 18, no Amber Alert was issued. Some assumed he had left voluntarily, but his family knew better. He hadn't packed anything. He hadn't taken money. He'd made plans for the next day. There was no reason to vanish. In response, his parents founded Project Jason, a non-profit dedicated to helping families of missing loved ones navigate the system. They turned grief into action. His mother, Kelly, became one of the most vocal advocates in the nation for missing adult cases. She received state and national awards. She worked with law enforcement, the media, and lawmakers to change how cases like Jason's are handled. In 2005, Nebraska passed Jason's Law, which created a centralized database for missing persons across the state. It gave families a tool they never had. It gave police a framework for handling future disappearances. But for the Jolkowskis, it didn't bring their son back. As years passed, new theories surfaced. Some thought Jason may have accepted a ride from someone he trusted, maybe a neighbor or acquaintance. He was vulnerable. He wouldn't have gotten into a stranger's car, but someone familiar? That's harder to track. Jason's face still appears in missing persons campaigns. He's described as 6 feet 1 inch tall, with brown hair, glasses, and a gentle expression. He was last seen wearing black dress pants and a white shirt, clothes for work. There's no confirmed sighting, no body, no evidence, not even a rumor that ever panned out. Fourth case, the road that ends in questions. Maura Murray, 2004, New Hampshire. Maura Murray was 21. She was from Massachusetts. She studied nursing at UMass Amherst. She was organized and caring. She had family, friends, and was trying to make a life. But on February 9th, 2004, everything changed. Days before her disappearance, Maura showed signs of stress. On February 5th, she was working a security shift on campus. Her older sister Kathleen called after leaving rehab. This call left Maura shaken. Her supervisor later said she was visibly upset. Maura was unresponsive for a while, emotionally distressed. She said only, "My sister." She later denied being involved in the problem. Still, that day left a mark. On February 7th to 8th, Maura borrowed her father's car, damaged it in a guardrail accident, and agreed to pick up accident forms from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. She was conscientious, even upset about the damage. That crash cost $8,000. She seemed focused on making things right. On February 9th, 2004, early afternoon, she packed some clothes, toiletries, textbooks. She purchased alcohol, including Bailey's, Kahlua, vodka, Franzia wine, and withdrew about $280 from an ATM. At about 1:24 p.m., she emailed her professors and her work supervisor, saying she would take the week off because there was a death in her family. Her family later confirmed there was no such death. She also made calls, one to a Vermont tourism info line, one to a friend. She checked travel routes via MapQuest to places like Burlington, Vermont. None of her contacts seemed to have known where she intended to go. She left campus in her black 1996 Saturn sedan between 4 and 5 p.m. in worsening winter weather. It was nearly dark. Some roads were icy. At 7:27 p.m., a local woman reported a car accident on Route 112, Wild Amano-Usick Road, near Woodsville, New Hampshire, adjacent to a sharp curve. The car was up against a snowbank. The front end, left headlight, and radiator area were damaged. The airbags had deployed. The windshield was cracked on the driver's side. A passing motorist who drove a school bus and lived nearby stopped. He saw a young woman walking around the car. She was cold, possibly shivering. She appeared to decline offers of help. She said she had already arranged roadside assistance. The motorist drove home, then called authorities. Police responded, arriving approximately 7:46 p.m. By then, the car was empty. Maura was missing. Inside the car were personal items, textbooks, clothes, maps. A backpack was missing. The accident forms she promised her father were found in the vehicle. Some bottles of alcohol were present. A rag from her emergency kit was stuffed into the muffler pipe. Items in the car showed she may have planned for something. But when the law arrived, she was gone. Search began soon after. By dawn the next day, her father Fred arrived in Haverhill. Ground teams, local police, volunteers worked the woods, snowbanks, roadsides. A tracking dog traced a scent from one of Maura's gloves about 100 yards east of the crash site into the trees. The scent was lost. Investigators believe that suggests she didn't go far on foot immediately. Over the weeks and months following, many searches, land and air, were carried out. Cadaver dogs were used. Private investigators joined. In 2006, inside a house about a mile from the crash site, cadaver dogs alerted strongly in closets. That home was owned by a man who later gave Fred a rusty knife, saying his brother had killed Maura. The knife and property were investigated. Samples were taken. Later excavations were performed. Nothing conclusive was proven. Fifth case, double life, the Phoenix Coldon case, 2011, Missouri. Phoenix Lucille Coldon was born May 23, 1988, in California. But her life took shape in Spanish Lake, Missouri, a quiet suburb north of St. Louis. Her parents, Goldia and Lawrence, were protective and deeply religious. They homeschooled her, raised her to believe in structure, safety, and obedience. To outsiders, Phoenix was a dream child, talented, respectful, brilliant. She played the violin and piano. She fenced competitively. She'd once held a junior championship title. She was also enrolled in college, studying to better her future. At least, that's what they believed. December 18th was a Sunday. Phoenix had gone to church with her mother that morning. Nothing was off. No red flags. Around 3 p.m., she slipped on a hoodie and told her mom she was stepping out. No purse, no shoes. Just car keys. She got into her black 1998 Chevy Blazer and backed out of the driveway. Her father, Lawrence, was in the garage. He watched her leave. She didn't say where she was going, and no one ever saw her again. 2 hours later, roughly 25 minutes from her home, Phoenix's SUV was found in East St. Louis, Illinois. The driver's side door was open, the engine still running. Her glasses were on the seat. Her ID, purse, and shoes were still inside. Her phone was gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle. Police had the car towed and impounded, but they never notified her parents. Goldia and Lawrence wouldn't learn about the vehicle's location until more than a week later. By then, the SUV had been sitting in a tow lot, untouched. Inside, all of Phoenix's personal items were still there. To them, it didn't look like she ran away. It looked like she was taken. But local police weren't so sure. No signs of foul play, no immediate digital trail, No credit card activity. They floated the theory that Phoenix left voluntarily. Some officers even suggested she might have had a breakdown or simply didn't want to be found. But as her parents dug deeper, they discovered Phoenix had a second life, and it wasn't one they were ever supposed to find. Phoenix had told her family she was living with a friend named Bianca near her college campus. In truth, she was living with a boyfriend, someone her parents didn't know existed. They also discovered she hadn't been enrolled in classes that fall. She had dropped out months earlier, but that was just the start. As they searched through her things, they found a second phone, one her parents had no idea she even owned. It wasn't listed on their family plan. It had a different number, different contacts, and messages they'd never seen before. Through that phone, they uncovered conversations with multiple men, long texts, flirtations, plans. One man, in particular, stood out. She'd spoken with him several times on December 17th, the day before she vanished. On the morning of the 18th, they exchanged one short call, then silence. What made things worse, none of these men came forward. No one claimed to know what happened. And none of Phoenix's friends could explain why she needed a second identity. Goldia and Lawrence spent their life savings trying to find her. They hired a private investigator. They passed out flyers across state lines. They interviewed people who were part of St. Louis's underground, trafficking circles, dangerous neighborhoods, places where young women vanished without a trace. Some tips pointed toward Phoenix being seen in Atlanta. Others said she may have fallen victim to a trafficking ring, but none of the sightings were ever confirmed. The police were slow to act. It was days before they even filed her car as evidence. Jurisdictional issues between Missouri and Illinois created delays. The family felt ignored, abandoned by the system that was supposed to help them. They even found the towed car themselves, not through the police, but through a friend who happened to call the tow yard. That car had been sitting there, with all her belongings, while no one did a thing. Lawrence passed away in 2021, never knowing what happened to his daughter. To this day, the vehicle has offered no DNA evidence that points to anyone but Phoenix and her parents. No fingerprints, no foreign hair, no blood, just a running engine, a cracked door, and a woman who vanished. So what happened?